Becoming pregnant at 42 evoked disgust from others. That's disgusting. You're already old. What are you trying to prove? My husband's hurtful words pierced through me, casting doubt on the possibility of carrying out a pregnancy at this stage of life. Despite our over 20 years of marriage, during which I had longed for a child and tirelessly pursued the dream, his profanity was unbearable. His gaze was filled with contempt, treating me as if I were nothing more than a piece of trash. Anger welled up within me, overshadowing my deep sorrow. Determined to create a life for my cherished child, I made a swift decision to leave the house. Not only would I be giving birth at an advanced age, but I would also embark on the journey as a single mother. Though the road ahead would be far from easy, the thought of never having to see his face again provided solace. With resolute determination, I gritted my teeth to protect my child. It was during those trying days that an unexpected twist of fate occurred, a reunion I had never imagined would lead to such an outcome. I had entered into matrimony with Ivan at the age of 20, having been high school sweethearts. We embraced the joy of newlywed life a little earlier than our peers. While we may not have been financially affluent, our daily lives were fulfilling, except for one aspect: infertility. We had married before many others, yet for 5 years, we struggled to conceive. Our friends started families, while we faced the heartbreaking reality of not being as fortunate. Why can't we have a baby? I believe there might be an issue, I pondered, seeking answers to the elusive question of parenthood. Whenever people around us brought the news of pregnancy, Ivan got grumpy and insulted me. He made himself out of the victim and put all the blame on me. Why don't we go through infertility treatment together? If we can't get pregnant after all this time, we have no choice but to get proper help. Why do I have to go? A woman gives birth, so the cost must be the woman. Besides, how much do you think the treatment costs? It was true that infertility treatment did not guarantee pregnancy and was not cheap either. It also take a lot of time, so I can understand why he didn't want to go through with it. His words make me sad, but I was more pained by the coldness of the way he looked at me. Most women get pregnant naturally. But you are seriously incompetent. I feel like I've been cheated. I shouldn't have married you. He ended a conversation then and started watching TV with a beer in his hand. He had no idea that I cried alone every time. This exchange went on for years. I eventually stopped talking about infertility treatment. We were still sexually active, but it became an unfulfilled and meaningless act for me deep in my heart. I always kept the hope to have a child. More than 10 years passed before my wish came truth. One day when I turned 42, the hope I had almost given up on sprouted. No way. I'm pregnant. I thought I was dreaming as I checked the pregnancy test, ready to be disappointed. As always, I could not believe I was seen before my eyes, forgetting to wipe away the tears. I immediately ran up to Ivan. Honey, I'm finally pregnant. We're having our baby. He was watching TV and looked at me in surprise that he let out a prolonged sign. It's too gross. An old lady getting pregnant. It's nothing but a new nuisance. Now what are you saying? I could not understand what he meant. When I was done, he continued talking. Once Sidley don't have a baby, it's going to only cause us money. Abortion isn't free either. Are you mad? How could you say such a thing? I have no feelings for you anymore. Just when I'm thinking of a divorce, you come up with trouble. Living with you is nothing but a pain in the neck for me. On top of that, I don't want to have to raise a child. With a distorted smile on his face, he showed me the weight with his hand. I'd been told a lot of horrible things by him, but I couldn't endure anymore. At that moment, I finally decided that I would rather leave as the mother of a child than as the wife of a man like him. If that's the case, I will divorce you. I will take responsibility for raising this child. I can't be with a lousy person like you. That's convenient. Good luck raising this child alone. Old lady, don't come begging me for help. He made it clear that he would not recognize the child. If I had taken the advice of my attorney to fight for child support, I could have gotten it from him. I was just so angry and disgusted that I only wanted to divorce him as fast as possible. I ended up getting nothing. After all, such things were trivial to me at that point. After our separation, I immediately returned to my parents' home, and with their support I was able to give birth. My long-awaited son was adorable, and I thought I could do anything for him. When my body recovered, I decided to look for a job right away to make ends meet. My parents were to take care of my son so that I could work without worry. After visiting several places, I was hired by the diner. The manager and his wife were very kind people, as well as providing me with meals. They also gave me leftover food every day. I was more than grateful for their helpfulness. We would like to support you in any way we can. You can bring your baby here sometimes. Thanks to the considerate manager and his wife, I had no trouble making a living. It was around the time I was getting used to my job. I went to great customers as usual and was stunned to see one of their faces. "Oh my God, what are you doing here?" It was Ivan sitting in the booth. Just looking at his face was enough to make me anxious. It was made worse by the young woman next to him who looked at me puzzled. "None of your business, I mean, do you work here?" He laughed and tried to make fun of me. "You must be miserable working in a random diner looking like a beater old woman. Unlike you, I'm leading a very colorful life." He began to talk about himself without being asked for it. The woman he had with him was the daughter of a very respectable family with money after marrying her. He quit his job and was training to take over her family business. He did look a little well off, wearing a nice watch and all. I cut the conversation short and had a minimum exchange with him. Despite that, I could hear him talking bad about me and bragging about himself loudly until he left the diner, the woman next to him looking embarrassed. Must have been having a hard time with him. I felt a little sorry for her. As I was cleaning the table, the manager came up to me. "Was this someone you know?" He seemed like a very good person. "Unlike you, he's my ex-husband. I'm very ashamed of him." "Really?" "He came here several times in the past several years. I remember him well because of his behavior. My mind went blank a few years ago, meant that he had been cheating on me for a long time. He didn't initiate divorce until I began pregnant because he wasn't sure if he was fertile, if the woman was from a respectful family. The issue of heirs was an important matter. A man who couldn't have children was out of the question. When I got pregnant, he was convinced and was able to divorce me without a worry. The fact that I had been cheated on for so many years infuriated me. I was unaware of the affair at a time of our divorce and didn't file for alimony. The manager's memory alone wasn't enough evidence. It was too late to gather proof, and there was nothing I could do to get back at him anyway. "Is there anything I can do now?" as I was trying to wrap my head around it. The manager, "Get me the contact of someone. If you want to do something about it, you should speak to her. She will help you." "A lawyer or a detective?" "No. Someone who might be the stronger ally." At first, I didn't understand what he was saying. I had no way of knowing at a time that she would unexpectedly make a big difference in my life. Then about a year after Ivan visited the diner, I suddenly received a call from him. He wanted to talk to me urgently. I decided to meet him at a nearby coffee shop. As soon as he arrived, he left out a deep sigh. "I'd be married to Mary for a year now, and it's really been hell." Mary was the woman he was with. He complained about her family and lifestyle, which he originally bragged to me about. "She's the same as you. She can't get pregnant. I'm really unlucky with fighting decent woman. I'm in such a hurry to heaven and there, and this is really annoying. My in-laws are even saying that I'm the cause of the That's bullshit. I listened to his complaints silently, sipping my coffee without even nodding to him. I envy you for being able to make a living with such a simple job. I'm told that they don't need an old man who can't even produce an heir, and they won't even let me work. It's just too much, and went out of my way to quit my job and moved in with them in the countryside. They're ungrateful people. Do you have to tell me that? I don't have time for this. As I finished my coffee, he took my hand and squeezed it tightly. I'm not going to go through all this trouble to live in the Phil countryside. Why don't we start over? You are poor and in trouble, aren't you? I will help you. Not a single word of apology from him. To top it off, he talked nonsense. As he saw fit, my anger reached its peak. I shook his hand off as I screamed at him, not caring about other customers around. Don't you dare. You threw me and our child away like trash, and not what I even know that you were having an affair with Mary while we were still together. Why would I want to go back to a man like you? My shout attracted the customer's attention. He was furious to be shamed in public. He overruled with an even louder voice. You are making false accusations. You cast suspicions without proof. I'm suing you for defamation. I flame a little at his sheer intensity, but at the same time I laughed. My joy and a certainty of victory outweighed my fear. I will give her all the proof she needs at the best possible moment. The woman sitting in the next booth stood up when he saw her face. He was so surprised that he swept Mary. Why are you here? Lussa told me you were meeting her here. She sat down next to me and faced him. I have a years-long record of our correspondence. There should be enough proof of our affair, right? Wait, how do you guys know each other? That's because of the manager of the diner, right, Lisa? I nodded in agreement. The contact he gave me that day was Mary's. She had been a frequent customer of the diner for a long time and was a good friend of his. When he saw her looking unhappy next to Ivan, he thought that she might be going through the same as I did. After much consideration, I contacted her and we hit it off about Ivan. We became friends who shared the same problem. She apologized to me repeatedly for the affair. She had even offered me compensation for it. Instead, I asked her for help getting revenge on Ivan. I've been listening to you talk for a while, but you are such a liar. You're not being let to work because you had an affair with the housekeeper. Besides, your personality has changed too much since we got married. It's nothing but a shame now. You love me to the housekeeper because you don't get pregnant. It's not my fault. When we took a fertility test, it was you who got a bad result. It was your fault. I wasn't going to blame you for that, but if you are going to use it as an excuse, it's a different story. Trying to escape from Mary, who went UNS scolding him. He looked at me with pleading eyes. Mary, preventing that by banging on the table. Are you bailing out again? Your life is so miserable. Quit and run again and again. I heard you call Les incompetent a long time ago, but you are an example of incompetence. Stop being a selfish, eat and pay Les the alimony now. Shut up. Divorce was finalized and there's nothing she can do about it. Why would I pay her now? Then she can sue you for emotional distress. She had gone through a difficult pregnancy. Thanks to you. Abandon her. No way, as they plopped on the table. Mary shopped divorce papers in front of him. I asked you to divorce me too. Of course. I will charge you alimony for the affair. Well, wait a minute. He finally started to cry and repeatedly hit his forehead on the table. What am I going to do now that I've divorced again? Have no job and no house. I can't pay alimony on top of it due. I would never cheat on you again. So please forgive me. How can I trust a man who has already committed adultery twice? You can pay alimony by borrowing money or in whatever way you can. That's how much pain you've cost me." He knew that Mary was so determined and could not be persuaded. He turned his tear-stained face to me. "Next, I'm really sorry. I'll become the kind of man you want me to be. Please forgive me." I thought about it for a moment before answering with a smile. "Then pay child support and become the man who will never appear in front of me again." "Oh no, don't you have any compassion? Since it seems you lack any empathy towards me, I will make sure everyone in this coffee shop hears about the abuse you have subjected me to. I wonder how many people would support you after hearing the truth." Reluctantly, he gave in and signed the divorce papers, acknowledging his defeat. With Mary's support, I successfully retaliated against him. After losing his place to live, he found himself in a dilapidated apartment, working multiple part-time jobs to make ends meet. At his age, he's engaged in unfamiliar work without a single day off, all while striving to pay off the alimony. Meanwhile, I am currently in the process of securing his legal recognition as the father of my son. A DNA test has already been conducted, so it's only a matter of time before his responsibility to provide child support is established. Finally, I can take a well-deserved break. Now that everything has been resolved, I still keep in touch with Mary, who is married, and occasionally we meet at a diner. We embrace our current lives, sharing laughter and discussing how we will find a deserving partner for our future battles.